Yesterday was a big day in my regular life because I told the world that I was closing my brick and mortar business. And I'm thinking about, what am I really going to do? I look around at the world and I look into people's eyes and I just wonder how we got here. I see this dull, glassed over, glossy glaze as I look around. And honestly, a lot of it's probably the Xanax and SSRIs that everyone is on, or a lot of people are on. But all of it is because of an utter disconnection from reality. Just these lives that we're living. And there's no shame in taking those meds. I want to be clear. That's not a knock. In fact, I've self-medicated most of my life. I was a full-blown heroin addict for more than 5 years. And I'd argue that most people self-medicate in one way or another, whether that's shopping or food or going to the doctor for prescription medication. And the problem as I see it is the systems, not the people. It's not you. It's not your fault. Because we're trapped in the things that we created. 99% of the world is looking at me like I'm the crazy one for not being willing to sacrifice my soul to fit into this system. And so I want you to ask yourself a few questions. Are you happy in the areas of your life that really matter? Do you love your job? Not just go in and get by, not just do it because it pays well, but do you love your job? Do your relationships add value to your life, or do you feel like people are just constantly taking from you and you're having to sublimate yourself to be around other people? Is your body a pillar of support and groundedness for you? Or is it something that just aches and causes pain and trouble and makes you feel bad about yourself? On a collective level, do you think that society is heading in a direction that's ultimately going to help us come together and heal? And end poverty, and end war, and end these systematic things that are a byproduct of the systems that we created? And if you don't think that we're headed in the right direction, if you're not happy with those things in your life, what are you doing about it? Because keeping your life as it is and posting some shit on social media is not going to be enough. We've actually got to shake things up. We've actually got to step into the unknown. We have to be willing to be unstable for a little bit. That is part and parcel to transition and change. But we are so fearful that everything is going to fall apart that we can't break out of our way of thinking and seeing the world. All that matters when we're in our brain, when we're thinking about a way forward, is what is right in front of us. All our mind can see is what's right in front of us. But what's right in front of us is an illusion. None of it is real. Your personality isn't real. This world isn't real. But it's all we can see. And it's not to say that the suffering in the world isn't real and that you can't really get hurt or that you can't really love. Did you know that over 1 billion people on this planet do not have access to a cell phone to communicate with loved ones? And all we can do is worry about paying our mortgage or our insurance bills. And until we can open our hearts to the world, not just what we see, not just what we care about, not just to our circles, I think we are doomed to stay stuck in this darkness. And so I intend to use this channel and my life as an example in real time of what happens when we open our heart to the world and let life in fully. I really can't wait to see what happens. Can't wait to make stuff. I can't wait to feel, dream, love, shed tears. It's going to be the gambit. But what it's not is the same old thing. What it's not is sublimating myself to fit in. And you might be thinking, well, that must be nice. Must be nice to just see what happens. I don't have enough money or time to do that. And that is exactly my point. That thinking is what is keeping us stuck in the same old patterns, keeping us stuck as a cog in the machine, instead of being a butterfly riding the wind of life, frolicking in the unknown. And to set the record straight, I don't have those things. In fact, as I shut down my brick and mortar business, I am close to $750,000 in debt. So not only do I not have the finances, but I'm also a single dad in the midst of closing a pretty big business. So yes, time is of the essence for me. It's incredibly valuable. What has happened to me over the last 6 months is indescribable. And it has put me in a place of trust for whatever may happen. It's interesting. I thought that I would only do something like this if I knew that I could see the outcome on the other side. If I knew that I would be better off. But now I realize that I can only be better off on the other side if I'm willing to step into the uncertainty. It doesn't work the other way around. And so I've come to see my life with a degree of separation. It's kind of like I'm watching a movie character, and every time there's a plot twist, I just think to myself, that was interesting. I wonder what our hero is going to encounter next. And I think when you get to that place, once I could see my life as a movie, I knew the ending. It's the reason all of our stories and myths exist in the first place, to help us see that things do end happily ever after. We're just all so conditioned right now to think that the opposite is true. But it must be that way. It must end happily ever after. It might not be in this lifetime. This lifetime might be about working out the drama. But trust me, it will end well. And so although I don't know what's going to happen as I take this leap of faith, I do know it will be exactly what is needed to step into my path, to step into my role as what I'm going to call mystic. There's always been people who can feel the new ideas, the new movements coming into the world. And we've called them teachers, sages, masters, visionaries. And I haven't earned any of those titles. And I don't know if I will. But I can feel that I'm meant to show people that there is another way. We're trapped right now by our systems. School saps our spirit and prepares us for living boring lives as regurgitators of information and kills our creativity in the process. The healthcare system pumps us full of drugs that fatten the pockets of everyone except us. And they sacrifice your long-term health for a short-term gain. Politics divide and enrage us while our leaders take action that protects them at the sake of everybody else. And it is nobody's fault. It is not healthcare's fault. It is not the school's teacher's fault. It's not the doctor's fault. It's not our politicians' fault. It is the system's fault. These systems evolved out of something innocent and pure and with good intention. We wanted to care for people's health. We wanted to educate people. But over time, like all structures, they began to degrade and to collapse. And where we've gone wrong is we've so identified with these structures, with these schools of thought, that we don't see that those schools of thought, they're the problem in the first place. And so we're trying to change things from within the system. But the system is what's broken. And so we start blaming the people within the system. We make people an enemy of ours or an other because we try and stay in the system, and so it must be the person on the other side of that system that's the problem. At some level, though, I am also a part of the system. And we have got to find a way to turn within and make the changes in our lives and changes in our thinking that allow the system to actually transition. We've got to be willing to step into the unknown. And until we say that we will not live another day unfulfilled and purposeless, the system is going to remain. It's going to take a huge leap of faith. So much of our energy gets taken up by the hatred and the blame. But it's a turning inward, not a casting out, but a turning inward that allows us to create the freedom of mind needed to make these changes. And because so far we haven't been able to summon that courage, we're just trying to band-aid and hold up the systems so the world as we know it doesn't collapse. But honestly, the systems of the world need to collapse. And I know that that is a big thing to say, but it's the truth, and we have a choice in how those systems collapse. Doesn't mean that things need to get terribly bad. Although if I know human nature, I'm not positive it's going to happen without that. But at some point, we're going to need to make a choice to start again. This is a huge problem. And there is so much inertia and momentum to overcome. And that's why nobody is doing anything about it. We all just feel so overwhelmed. What could we possibly do? And we all just agree that the best we can is doing the best we can in the system that we're in. But not anymore. Somebody, really an entire fractal line, has to step up and show people that there is another way. And that if you can summon the courage to live that other way, that there are forces in the universe that are going to support you. They're going to hold you up. They're going to care for you. We just don't understand what those forces are yet. But they're there. I can feel it. I know it. How do I know it? Because it's literally in my bones. It's in my body. It's changing my body. And I know that sounds crazy. But ever since I've been on this path, my hips, my low back, it's shifting. I tell people it's like a transformer. It's indescribable. But I know that it's right. And I can feel it and see it in the things around me. My relationships are bringing so much love to me. My creativity lights me up, and it's coming from a different place than it ever has before. It makes me excited to share with the world again. So we'll see what my example offers to the world. I know, I promise it won't be perfect, but it will be human, and it will be courageous, and it will be loving, and it will bring me great joy and great peace to know that I had the balls to bring something new and great to the world. And this probably comes across as pretty pretentious. And you probably have a whole lot of who the hell does this dude think he is? And that's okay. That's part of this transition, and I'm willing to take the ridicule. And I may end up not doing well financially for a period of time as I go through this transition. And that's part of things too. But what I can show through my example is that that's not the end of the world, that I can still show up with love, that I can still create. And eventually you'll come out on the other side living a life that you dreamed of. I can feel it. And so what I'm doing is walking through this transition for the world. That's what this channel is going to be about. So everyone can see that there is another way. And I'll share what I've learned up until this point to build the courage to make that leap. All the systems, things like gene keys and different meditation practices and physical practices with my body. And I'll continue to learn things and continue to share them as I walk through this abyss, as I fully step off the cliff and just leap. So in the meantime, take a second today to look at something beautiful. Tell somebody you love them. Do something nice for yourself. That's how all of this starts. That's the first step. Man, that felt good. Here we go. Let's see what happens.